Hello, good evening in London, good afternoon in California, and good afternoon wherever you are. Good morning. It could as well be good night. So this is Dr. Patrick Businge, live from Greatness TV, and very, very pleased and very happy to host the great DJ Mike. I will take this opportunity to invite Sir Clyde Rivers, the godfather of world civility, to talk about, to introduce us about our guest. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, grab your seat belts. It's going to be a white knuckler today. We have with us Dr. Mike Freeland. I'll tell you, this guy's a phenomenal DJ, but that's his low assignment now. He has written a book called Free Your Land. This book right here. Wow. This book right here is a must for everyone because he teaches how to deal with the mental real estate. Professor Patrick, I'm telling you, the audience, you're in for a treat. I introduce, bringing to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Mike, Free Your Land, Freeland.
God bless you all. Hey, thank you guys. It's an amazing opportunity, and I want to thank both of you for bringing me on such an amazing platform. But hey, look, when we're talking about the mental real estate, listen, guys, we're talking about we're not just talking about a mindset. We're talking about a lifestyle. We're talking about a way of creating an actual different way of actually handling yourself when it comes to your mindset. Because what happens a lot of times, and I'll give it to you easy, when we talk about mental real estate, a lot of times, as soon as I said real estate, people automatically thought what? Property. What do they think about? A house. They're talking about land. And this is the best way to equate mental real estate, is because you actually equate your property is of value. Okay. So when you have a house and you have a home, you have land, you have things that you are putting on your property. But listen, when someone comes to you and says, hey, can I put my old broke down car on your property? Most of the time you're going to tell them absolutely not. Do you mind if I take the trash that I have in my house because I don't want it in my house anymore and I put it on your land? Can I put my trash on your land? Absolutely not. But listen, but when we're talking about the mental real estate, we're talking about the exact same thing. But we're only equating it to the mind because the mentality of what we have, and listen, what we have in our mental real estate can have contributors from the positive and the negative side. So what you put in your mental real estate on a positive end can actually help you to grow as an individual, a human being, and help you contribute to society. But what we also put in our mental real estate on a negative side can actually help tear people down, can actually bring people to a point of breaking. And we don't want to break anybody, but what we're trying to do is, as the book said, is to help you develop your mental real estate. How do you know what you have unless you've never explored what's there? Listen, we have turned to other people in many occasions for opinions, but do you understand that God has given you everything that you need? Do you understand that the value of who you are is already in your mental real estate? Sometimes we I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, DJ Mike is all gas, no brakes.
Oh, yes, he can feel it. He can feel it. And actually, I was going to ask him, how did you come up with this Free Your Land as a title for your book?
Let me tell you how this worked out. It's amazing, and it's God-given. To be honest, it's God-given, because growing up, you know, we come from ancestors that actually had to live and deal with whether they were free or not. Now, we had people who had to, we all have ancestors of slavery. Now, I don't mean to say that in a negative connotation, because listen to how this works. Is because I had ancestors, I had relatives that were descendants of slavery. So what happened is that I had a grandfather who was, and I can't tell you what generation, probably third or fourth generation grandfather, who was a slave. And what happened was he escaped the slavery from the South and migrated north. And when he got to the north, he changed the family name to Free Land. Okay, now what does that mean? Okay, because free land, it means what? We are actually finally free, and encompassing the fact that we have the right now to speak on being free. And when it comes to being a free land, Yes, my last name is Freeland, but what it means on the mental real estate side is that you have the right to your free land, and your free land begins with your mental real estate. You can't own anything in the natural world unless you have your free land and your mental real estate. You can't make good decisions. You don't know how to handle being married. You don't understand how to pay bills. If your land is not free, you are in a state of confusion. And to be in a state of confusion denies you your right to your free land.
Professor Patrick, the mic didn't just drop; the mic evaporated. Did you? Now, watch this. You, as you talk about this, this is truly a passion in you. And think about what do you think is affecting people with the coronavirus, racism, all these challenges facing people now. What do you think? What do you think is? I mean, people right now, there's mental illness is increasing. There's all these different phobias, fear, depression, oppression. All these things are so prevalent now. How do you think people need to address those thoughts and issues?
When we're talking about everything that's going on, it's really terrible that we have to be in this position right now. But we can thank God that we are still in our own right mind and our own health and strength. But there are so many people out there that are actually feeding into the frenzy of your mindset. And when I say feeding into the frenzy, that means you're turning the television on. You're listening to the next door neighbor. You're allowing the influence to get inside of you when they're speaking about the negativity, and they're telling you that, hey, they said by this winter that we're all going to be locked in the house because the coronavirus is going to ramp up again. And they're buying the flim flam. They're buying into a situation and a circumstance that hasn't even been realized yet. Listen, when we're talking also about the mental real estate, you can't discredit your life lessons, because we are all learning life lessons. Now, this is what I call the life application of mental real estate. This has everything to do with the mind, because you can't teach. People want answers, for situations and circumstances they're going through. They want right now answers for life lessons. And you can't teach a life lesson. You have to live it. And the sad part about understanding that is that when we're going through what we have in front of us, when we're dealing with the coronavirus and we're dealing with the being, trapped into our own houses and our own minds, you have to find that best part about you. Because listen, just as much as you reach outside of yourself to get those answers, I can promise you, God has never given any type of question that he didn't have an answer to. If you get what I'm saying. So sometimes we have to dig down inside of what we know to be our own mental real estate. Question yourself. Some people want the easy answers, but will not sit down and meditate. If you have no meditation, this is where we get in touch and in tune with who we are as individuals, because we have to be able to grab a hold to our own mindset. Because if we don't do it, somebody else will, guaranteed.
Amazing. And actually, as you're saying, one way to freeing your mental real estate, one way of freeing your land is meditation. What about music? How can we use music? I guess that's where most of your talent lies, really. Using music to help people heal, using music to help people free their land.
Listen, I've been a DJ for next 2021 will be 30 years as a DJ. I've actually started DJing in 1991, and I've been doing it a long time. But let me tell you how I got to that. I'm a fast track this. I have a leg condition that I suffer with, and it's in the book. It's called Melrose disease. And this condition that I live with, and even to today, right now, in this day, I still deal with the same leg condition. And how I had to grow up was dealing with a lot of teasing, a lot of being made fun of, a lot of being ostracized, and a lot of people who use me as their laughing platform. People would bring me in just to make fun of me, and I would sit there and thinking that they were my friends. But what happened was they were actually using me as the ploy. I was the footstool. So moving along, I got into quite a few things that I really wanted to try because I had a leg condition and it didn't work out for me. So the one thing I did is we have a good family foundation that allows us to be free in our spirit. And we have a lot of singers in the family. So people would always sing. And my grandmother used to have old fashioned house parties. And I was that kid that used to get in trouble because when grown folks was talking, you had to get lost as a kid. So I was always that kid that was sitting in the dark corner looking for a place just to hide so I could hear some of the music that my grandmother would play. And music has a message, and music has a way to get into you and allow you to feel something that you probably never felt before. Listen, there's things that you can ask somebody a question about. Hey, I don't really understand why my relationship is the way that it is. But somebody can actually come and give you a response to your relationship. But guess what? Their response can be very subjective. So are you actually getting the answer that you need? Are you actually receiving what you need? But what I learned about the music is that the music holds the message. These are time capsules, gentlemen. The best part about the music is it doesn't go anywhere. These are life applications put to words and melody. And people are actually grabbing a hold to the words and the melody. Why do you think the music has changed so much to the generation that it is now from what it was back then? Because when they made music in the 50s, 60s, and the 70s, early 80s, there were messages about their life, what they went through, their survival stories, drug abuse, sexual abuse, anything you can think of, you could find a song to the music. And so the music found a way to give me my healing when the people outside were laughing at me. I would close myself in a room and I would find myself buried in the music, and the music gave me my release. So as a DJ, what I learned is that the music that I use, man, now I can play the same music for other people, and they are finding their reason to heal through the music.
My God, ladies and gentlemen, I told you, put on your seatbelt. Dr. Mike Freeland. See, Mike, what I like about it is there's practical things, because now, example, if I'm having a day where I'm having thoughts in my mind, and all of us have days. Let's be real. I was talking with someone this past weekend, and I said, people make it seem like Jesus woke up every day just like, hey, wow, this is gonna be a great day. Man, I said, some days, he said, if this cup can pass from me, with the money changers. So see, Jesus had feelings. God had, and I'm bringing an element of God in, because in my life, sometimes when I'm at a hard place, I can put on worship music, and man, the atmosphere in my life shifts and changes because of the music and the message. And see, and I watched you be DJ Mike. I've seen you take dead houses and turn them into a firehouse with the music. So this is a very important part of how to free yourself, man. I mean, one of the things I think about mental real estate. When you said something early, if somebody asked me if they could park a wrecked car in my yard, I'm going to say no. Right. Why do we allow people to park wrecked thoughts, wrecked images? Yes. Professor Patrick, go ahead.
Exactly. Why do we allow people to park in our minds? Because why do we allow people to park in our hearts? But sometimes the thoughts, as Clyde was saying, you can park that red car on someone's front yard and you might stay there for 1 month, 1 year, 2 years, then it becomes abandoned. So sometimes have those kind of things that happens into our lives, that we end up people parking into our lives, parking into our heads, minds, and souls. So how can we unpack those people? How can we unpack some of those thoughts? And one of the things that you do is speaking, telling a story. Tell us about you as the speaker, because speaking is another way of helping people unpack, heal, live their best lives. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things that I learned to do is listen, there's power in company. There's power and listen, there's power in the company that you keep. That was one of the things my mother used to say. My grandmother used to say, be careful of the company you keep. She used to say that when I go out and play basketball. I never understood that, but I had to mature and get grown and understand that there was real substance to that. Listen, to be great, you have to speak great. To be worthy, you have to know that you are. Now, here's what I told somebody one day. I said, listen, there's a lot of people that feel that they're valuable, They have value. But what do you understand about value? And let me tell you about yourself. What are you worth? How can I put a value on something that doesn't even know its own worth? See, when we're talking about mental real estate, this is a part of getting in tune with yourself and knowing that in order for me to move forward, in order for me to progress, because listen, there's a lot of things that we went through in our lives that have contributed to who we are as men today. And they weren't always fun. But the best part about that is knowing that your mental real estate and how you can contribute to that is you're going to find out what you're worth when you dig down on the inside. The best parts of you have yet to even be discovered. Listen, even developing my mental real estate does not mean that I have arrived. It means I am still a work in progress. And I accept that role in being a work in progress, 100% transparent, that as a man, I still continue to grow, but I have the recipe to understand how to develop my mental real estate. And if people can grab a hold to this thing, listen, you will realize the greatness and the goodness that is just inside of you. I'm not talking, this isn't church talk, guys. This is the real revelation of the God created person inside of you. When you can get on the inside and know that you are worth something, people will begin to see your value and they will not hesitate to pour into you because they say he is worth it.
Man, see what it is. You know, there's a component. Can you explain how to revalue the land? Like, watch this here. Yeah. Like, think about an appraisal. Think about a land that was I was considered bad, but they found oil underneath. So what? Go there.
Let me give you a life application to try to help bring this in. When I was a kid, my dad used to wake us up at 5 in the morning. Okay. He used to wake us up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a school day. We had to make the bed. We had to clean the house. We had to feed the dog or the cat. We had to cook our own breakfast. We had to clean the kitchen, take the trash out, all before we went to school at 5 in the morning. So by the time we got there, it was 7:30. We had to walk to school. Now, listen, what's the lesson in that? My dad silently taught us ethic. He taught us the value of work ethic. Let me give you another story real quick. Now, my mother, and I speak a lot about my family because I wouldn't be who I am without the life lessons, and a lot of what I got came from my family. And my mother, you're gonna laugh at this one. This is good stuff, guys. Listen, I was cleaning the kitchen. My mother was standing beside me cooking a pot of spaghetti, and my mother, she hated washing dishes in cold water. And I was the one who chose to wash dishes in cold water. So what did my mother do? She not only did she teach me a lesson by pulling every dish out of the cabinet to make sure I clean all the dishes, but as she stood beside me stirring that spaghetti sauce, when she reached over to put that, a dirty dish in that water and she seen that the water was cold, let me tell you something. I had never had more tomato sauce. My mother, she cleaned that spoon off on my head. But listen, what's the lesson? What's the lesson in that? Sometimes your mental real estate, people want to get to their mental real estate, but they want to take shortcuts to get there. But in your mental real estate, you have to be willing to understand the same philosophy that happened in school. You remember when we would try to get to the head of the line so we could get in that lunch line first? What did they do when they caught you? They sent you to the back of the line. Your mental real estate equated in the same way. I'm making it simple, gentlemen. Make it the same way, because in your mental real estate, there are no shortcuts to getting to your greatness. And when you decide to take a shortcut, understand that God already knew where your destination is supposed to be. He already knew where the vision was for your life. And when you try to shortcut God, he, in my opinion, will send you back to begin this thing all over again, because the process to get to your mental real estate is just as important as getting to the front of that line. And you will walk and toe that line until you get exactly where you need to be. But when you take the shortcut, you got to understand, sometimes you will be forced to start over on your journey. It doesn't mean your destiny isn't for you. It doesn't mean the vision isn't there for you on the other side. But the steps that we take to get to that vision are imperative to understand Your mental real estate has to take the steps that God has already ordained for you. I hope that helps.
That helps very much. Actually, there's no shortcut greatness.
Yes,
No
sir.
shortcut greatness. But I love the story where it's about that if they catch you jumping the key or jumping the line in the school, they'll send you back. In other words, when it comes to valuing the mental real estate, when it comes to freeing your land, there's need for someone to guide us in the process. There's need someone to show us the way to how we can do it properly, because we can end up doing it all over the place, and then we don't really achieve what we're meant to achieve, because we're not following anyone, but following our own instinct. Like you, or someone jumping from the back of the queue to the front of the queue. That's following the feelings. I'm hungry, I need food. Right. I don't have all the patience to wait from the back until they reach me the front. So in other words, the importance of a mentor, the importance of someone to help you show the way. Can you tell us the importance of that in your speaking career, in your music career, in your life? Because you talked about your parents helping you, mentoring you along the way. I'm sure you've had people as well that have helped you make sure that you get it right as you do it right and become great.
And really, and so, like I said before, surrounding yourselves with people that really care, that have a mindset to want to do more. Listen, like I said, in order to be great, you have to attach yourself to greatness. And that doesn't mean that you have to be elite. What it means is when you begin to understand more about yourself, as you begin to grow as a human being, as a man, who are the important. Now, listen, this is where we get the opportunity to go back, because just as we can all think of one person that in our years of growing up, we may not have had the best upbringing, but there always seems to be that one person that has told us you can do it. Or that one person that when we was at our lowest point, reached out and allowed us to take their hand. Or that one time when you're sitting on the porch with a grandfather or a good friend of the family, and they tell you this life isn't for you. Listen, I implore anybody who's listening, when it comes to understanding how to get to your greatness, the shortcuts, and we talked about all those things, but when it comes to getting to your greatness, you have to know that there are people that are in your corner, and you need to understand who those people are. Because and when you can't find that person, I'll tell you, just as I told anybody, it's okay to pray. Listen, because you find answers through prayer. You find resolve through prayer. There's a lot of spirituality and faith. Listen, if faith moves mountains, who are we not to believe? If God is everything that he says he is, he's already given us the solutions to these problems. But naturally, we all want to reach out, and we all want to find that person that we can connect to. So for me, what I personally would do is that I want to make sure that I'm not only around like-minded people, but I take myself out of the whole situation when it comes to people who are not. I don't need you to build up my good, but I don't need you to tear down my bad. So what I want people to do is to contribute to what you know is best about you. And it could be something simple. Listen, find the one thing that is good about you, because when we talk about doing great things, people want to think broad. And sometimes you just have to handle the one thing that God has given you to do. If you can be faithful over little, the ambassador said it best, you can be ruler over much. So take your time in knowing that your process starts with the one thing that God has given you to do. And if you can identify with the one thing God has given you to do, you make that your everything. Because as God sees that you've taken care of the little everything, then you will have much more added to you. Listen, I've been blessed, fast track to be a local DJ that didn't have a name, somebody playing music in the projects because they couldn't afford DJs, to now being an international figure. Not just an international figure, but people know me in Uganda as DJ Mike J. The people know me in Toro Kingdom as DJ Mike J. You know, so my name it's not just about, this is not a bragging right, guys, but understand, when God gives you something that is so good, you have every right to speak about it. Don't ever be ashamed of who you are.
DJ Mike J, you don't know Patrick's from the Kingdom of Toro.
Oh my God.
Tell him, Patrick.
Yes. And exactly last I was trying to find out how can I bring in about Toro. How can I bring it on? Now you've hit the night. Exactly.
Yes,
So tell us about experience Toro, because as I come from, and I missed last time when you came. I wasn't in Uganda, but you seem to have had a great time there. What one lasting memory? I don't know whether it was your first trip to Africa or Uganda.
yes.
So what one lasting memory that still sticks in your mind about Toro Kingdom, Uganda, or Africa?
You know, I love the Uganda. I love the kingdom. And, you know, when we went to the kingdom, one of my lasting memories that I have of the king, I have so many memories. Listen, it was an experience beyond any words could ever explain, because I grew up never only watching kings on television, never actually understanding and knowing that actual kings actually they live and they are actually real. I didn't know the realization of a king or a kingdom until I stepped on the grounds in the kingdom. And the best part, one of the best parts about the kingdom is King Oyo himself. Listen, to see a man with the vision for his people beyond himself is mind-boggling. Not just the fact that he's a king, and some people may say he's a king, that's what he's supposed to do. But understand where I'm from, there's a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of people who have their own incentives and their own intentions. But to see a king willing to sacrifice what it takes for the greater good of his people, I applaud that tremendously. You know, and the Queen Mother and the story behind him being, you know, we were celebrating his 24th coronation, and then he's 27 years old. It blew me away. I couldn't believe it. But I see the love of the people for the king. I see the love of the people for the kingdom and the reception that they gave us just to come into the kingdom. And the king said, hey, if you want land, we can give you some land over here. You know, so he offered us all, you know, an opportunity and blessed the ambassador with his own office. So, I mean, there was so much goodness that came out of the kingdom, the food, the celebrations, the people, the welcome, you know, the stories behind the kingdom of Idi Amin, you know, listening to his confidant speak highly about the kingdom and the history of the kingdom. We learned so much, and I'm only upset that I didn't have enough time to get more, because I was in no hurry to get home. It was an experience for the ages, and I'm grateful for that.
That's really good.
Yes, sir.
Nice. Thank you so much for your appreciation of the great kingdom of Toro that's we come from. And as well, I think the way you say it, that when we have these kind of life-defining moments, we enrich our mental real estate. In other words, we bring new concepts. We construct new buildings or ideas on our estate. We can have the free land, and the land is unoccupied. There still has to be something substantial. And when we have those kind of experiences and being able to discover other cultures, other people, other religions, other systems, and in that way build our mental real estate.
Yes. Now, can I say something? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes.
But what I need to hammer this one home, guys, is that your mental real estate, let's be honest, there's so much that we're talking about developing our mental real estate, but there's also something that we really miss and need to understand, is that as you develop your mental real estate, and then we're talking about natural property, what happens when we get older? What happens when we've done all that we can to build our houses and our land, and then we have all these fancy cars on a natural sense? When we have all these farms and all these things that we have acquired down the years, when we decide that, hey, I can't do this no more, what happens to those natural things? I'll tell you, we will those things off for somebody else to enjoy, for somebody else to prosper and to grow from that. Now, I said that to tell you this, is that your mental real estate is the exact same way. The recipe for developing your mental real estate did not stop at developing it. What it stops at and what it continues in is the actual understand that as we develop our mental real estate, that we can will what we have to someone else in the next generation, because these young kids, they need to understand what it's like to own their own mental real estate. But as we develop our mental real estate, listen, we will become stronger. We will become more efficient. We will be able to obtain more knowledge. And this is why I say to clean your closet when it comes to the negative aspect of your mental real estate, because just as you put so many negative things in your mental real estate will also dictate how you can actually respond to the positive side of that.
And that's really, really very beautiful, because I was thinking as well, as you're talking about, like, you've written a book called Mental Real Estate. That's another way of willing your mental real estate. When you're not there, where you're not, people can still read your book. They can still listen to your speeches. They can still listen to the music you've composed. Whether you can or like still listen to Dr. Miles Monroe, for example. It's no longer listen to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Again, it's not, but his ideas are still influencing us. Why? Because they've written them down. Why? Because they've spoken and recorded them. And that's another way of living a legacy. We link our mental real estate and dying with everything in us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. You know, they say the graveyard is full of all the untapped ideas of men and gifts that God has given them. I intend to live full and die empty, because, you know, the next generation needs that. They need to know that the knowledge that we have obtained can be shared, can be passed on, because just as they have ideas, they need to understand how to grow those ideas, because we're shifting into a whole new paradigm. We already know that, you know, the doors don't open like they used to. So the mindset is important, to be inventive and creative within your own ideas. So in being able to do that, I mean, I'm just proud and honored that this book has came out at a time when it was actually needed. When we wrote this, I wrote this book 8 months ago. I had no idea that the pandemic was coming. I had no idea that the world would be shut down. You know, and the thing is, when the book was released, I believe that, you know, God gave me everything to create this masterpiece of a book. And I've been sharing this book everywhere that I go. And I want people to understand that obtaining and retaining your mental real estate, and then understanding that as you develop that, to be able to help somebody else, bring somebody else along. It's just not about developing your mental real estate. And the book doesn't end with me. It begins with you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for creating that legacy, for giving us that message.
Yes,
and I think I never thought about it this way, in terms of mental real estate and comparing it with our lives. Is a very, very powerful analogy. And I think we'll have to schedule another conversation. Great books.
Absolutely.
So that we can talk about and analyze step by step, from looking for the material to create your mental real estate, building on that land, and maximizing the potential of what we have, the kind of builders we need. So it's a very, very powerful analogy when it comes to that. But as well, one of the other things you do, said you do the music, and I love your music. You always watch it. Is it Friday nights?
Saturday nights.
Saturday nights. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. So how can we contact you? How can we find you? Tell us where you can come on a Saturday night instead, and free our mental real estate.
Absolutely. You can actually find me at Michael Freeland on Facebook, and you'll see me right there with my DJ logo. And the logo says that it's not about the music, it's about the experience, because this is what we do. We create an experience through music. We bring people together from all across the world. I've had them in from different countries, Argentina, Africa. I've had people coming in, you know, just to enjoy the music and have a good time with one another and really listen. It helps people to be able to connect on different levels. So you can find me at Michael Freeland on Facebook, or DJ Mike J on Facebook. And for the book, The Mental Real Estate, is on Amazon, and it's also ready for ebooks. If you have Kindle, you can do that. Or if you want me to actually mail a book to you, you can direct message me, Michael Freeland, and I can definitely do what I can. But listen, I believe everybody deserves and needs their copy of The Mental Real Estate, because the book helps every individual. And I've had people tell me already, the response has been huge. A lady said, "Hey, Mike, let me tell you," she says, "if I had this book 20 or 30 years ago, my life would be different right now."
Wow.
And those are testimonies that people have been giving me from the response to The Mental Real Estate. So free your land, guys, develop your mental real estate, and own what you have, because somebody else is waiting to hear from you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, as Anthony's Bond saying here. This is a very powerful interview. Thank you very much for the very powerful interview we had this afternoon or this evening or night, wherever you are. And it's been amazing to have none other than DJ Mike, Dr.
Yes, sir.
Michael Freeland, helping us, Freeland, helping us build our mental real estate. And it's been Dr. Patrick Businge live from London and broadcasting on Greatness TV, hosting a show called Great Lives. We look forward to seeing you again. And I can't wait talking about that powerful book, Free Your Land, next time. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, all our viewers. And we look forward to seeing you again. Bye.